Hi, everyone. My name is Nicholas Polimenakos. I work behind the scenes here at NORWAC, doing various tasks. One of them is doing promo videos, and today I'm with Lynn Bell. Hi, Lynn.
Hi, Nicholas.
Lynn is speaking three times at the conference. She has a Saturday lecture in the Northwest Ballroom. It's called "The King is Dead, Long Live the King." She has a Sunday lecture in the Redondo Room called "You Know You Want It: Sex in the Horoscope." Great title, by the way, Lynn.
Thank you.
Yeah. And she also, on Friday before the conference starts, has a pre conference workshop called The Seven Deadly Sins and the Planets. So, Lynn, tell us a little bit about your workshop.
Well, the seven deadly sins and the planets is it's an idea I've worked on for a long time, but the idea is that every planet in your chart can kind of go wrong or go off or take you somehow away from where you really want to go. And I know it's a theological title, but we're not actually doing anything like that. It's really fun to look at in some ways the tradition, what was said about these things. But for a very long time, the planets have been associated with certain vices, you could say. It's very easy if you think of Mars to know that the vices of Mars are wrath. But then
Mm-hmm.
these deployed into many subcategories and variations and it's fascinating to explore each of these and to think of it not so much from a theological perspective, but from the perspective of both psychology and the soul. Like, how does your like soul go funny? How do you
Mm-hmm.
suddenly wake up and say, "Wow, I don't like who I am right now," or "How did I get here? This isn't who I wanted to be." So this is a very dense and very meaty workshop. Oh, if you're a vegetarian, that might not be the right adjective, but if you're a vegan, oops. No, it's
Mm-hmm.
there will be a lot of material here about how each of us, where we feel, oh, I got to catch myself and bring myself back into alignment. So, in many ways, this workshop, sin comes from a Hebrew word that means to miss the mark.
Huh.
So it's very much about not being centered. Okay. So if you think of it as simply as how do the planets in your chart sometimes take you off center? And if they do, which one is it? Is it Venus, which you wanted? That's a Venus topic, for example. And the sins, Venus has to do with being pulled off center by um, certain kinds of desire, for example.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, those things are wonderful, but it's when you start to lose your connection to self that they may not be so wonderful. So we're looking at this whole idea of how we stay focused and on track. Um, of course, the seven sins have a relationship with the seven classical planets. There's one area, there's a couple that there's different ideas about, so I'll also explore that.
Mm-hmm.
There's some old references that give, for example, envy to one planet, and another author might give it to another one. Um, anyway, they're kind of fascinating. Do you know what they are, Nicholas?
I
Are
don't
they?
know. It's funny when you were talking about this. For me, instantly, I went to like what Venus would be
Yeah.
like, and I was, I guess, because it's just in a sense that's like my personal thing, and I was like, would indulgence be like? I don't know. I
Well,
can't remember the seven sins.
the Latin word was luxure, which is our word for luck, the root of our word for luxury, but in fact, it's lust.
Oh,
Uh,
okay, uh-huh,
that's the Venus one.
okay,
Yeah.
that makes sense. But I could be lusting for food and money and whatever
Well,
would
you
fall in.
could, except that the other sins vary. There is a sin that's specifically about food called gluttony.
Ah, okay,
But
yes.
gluttony isn't just about food. It's about every form of too muchness. And traditionally, it always included alcohol
Hmm.
and other excesses of the appetite. But Venus was a very specific appetite.
Um, and since you mentioned gluttony, I what planet would be associated with gluttony?
Do you have any ideas?
Let me see. Jupiter?
Yeah,
Okay, good.
exactly.
Okay.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But it
Um,
really is, you could think of it, I think in a modern sense, we think of where's the too muchness in my life?
yeah, yeah.
Where do I have way too much of something and that keeps me in a state of imbalance or off
Hmm.
center? And even if it's too much of something really good, like uh, these days it's too much toilet paper, but that
Yeah, yeah. Or just any kind of baked good, with
yeah.
sugar and butter. So yeah, I guess that's where I was coming from earlier. I was thinking more Venus, but I think now that you explained some of this, that I it was coming. I now I realize it was more of a Jupiter thing.
Right?
Yeah,
And you have a
so
strong Jupiter.
I do.
Well, and generally, what's very interesting about this is it's often the strong things in your chart that there can be a too muchness about, right?
Hmm.
The stronger a planet is, the more it drives, the more it's going to take over from every other planet. And we tend to, there are planets we think, well, there's nothing wrong with that. But then you get to a point where it's like, whoa. Um,
Yeah, yeah, yes, yeah. Especially, let's say, an example was Jupiter. You don't really, there is no boundary, right?
right? No
So,
boundary. And before there was Neptune, everything Neptunian was Jupiterian,
yes, that's right.
essentially,
Hmm.
except part of Neptune went to the moon, right? So,
Yeah, for those of you watching who are not familiar with Lynn or have not seen one of her lectures or webinars, I will tell you that um, you will have fabulous chart examples, and you usually have a story or myth and beautiful imagery uh,
mm,
to connect everything in your lecture and webinar. And for me, I noticed times that I've seen you speak and how you present information, it comes in different ways. So there's the visual and then your voice, but you always put it together. And I always walk out of your lectures like knowing things, but it also gives me the space to explore. Whether it's usually throw poems, poetry, or a painting in there, and so I'm always going out and searching. I know other people do the same, Lynn. So
yeah, yeah.
yeah, yeah.
No, I know. I don't. It is true. Thanks, Nicholas. I like that because I think we take in information on multiple levels. Well, we know that everybody does. Some people are visual, some people are auditory,
Mhm.
some people are more tactile. Some people just want the info. So this isn't just an info. Which sin am I going to commit? And it's nothing like that. It's
Right.
really is almost a way to explore what moves you and how it moves through the world, and to understand in some ways what's running you. And it's not, I was having a conversation about this at dinner, and everybody, we went around, and one person could just name them, you know pride, sloth, envy, anger, uh,
Is it jealousy?
gluttony. Envy's part of
Envy's
jealousy,
part of the gluttony. Okay,
lust
yeah,
and gluttony, right?
yeah,
So there's somebody who could just rattle them off.
yeah.
But then the question is, which one is yours? Which one belongs to you, right? So you already identified, but for some people, it's hard to choose, and
Yeah.
we used a famous example saying, but he has all the sins, doesn't he? And
Hmm.
this, of course, was the tradition when one is really strong and you go really out of balance with a part of your personality, then everything starts to go out of balance. It's really fascinating to watch that you can just tick it down the line. uh,
Yeah, yeah. Because yeah, I could see how one could lead to another.
yeah.
Or in a sense, like there's Jupiter and Venus, right?
Yeah. For example, well,
The-
these are the benefics. So
Mhm.
what could be wrong with this? What's bad about more of this, right?
Right.
And
right.
I always joke because the United States is a Jupiter conjunct Sun country, and what's wrong with more, right? Is it could be a question. So we could look at we can also look at that in lots of different ways. Sort of. Uh,
Yeah. Lynn, thank you for the hints and description of your workshop. For anyone watching, if you want to read a little bit more about Lynn, her bios on our website, our lecture descriptions, the times, um,
Yeah, I've been at
register.
NORWAC many times, actually, and although I'm really going to miss being there in person, I'm very excited to be able to talk to so many of you this way. And it's going to be an amazing few days, and luckily you have a little more time to watch everything because that would be a too muchness of another kind.
Yeah, yeah. Well, Lynn, there's many people actually registered for the conference from all over the world who normally, wouldn't be able to make it in person. And I'm looking at the other side of things. We all are like we're doing the best we can. We're changing with the times in this particular situation, right, with COVID. So, but there's many people from all over the world who would never get a chance, you know,
Fantastic.
to see. So we're all really excited, for many reasons. But yeah. So if anybody out there watching, you're thinking about registering, you can get the Friday, Saturday, Sunday weekend pass, which basically gives you access to the lectures. Once the conference is done, you have 2 weeks to watch those lectures. So that's 50 plus lectures for Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Um, our pre and post conference lectures are separate. You would need to purchase that separately. And let's say, for instance, Lynn's lecture, pre conference lecture, if you were to purchase that, you would also have 2 weeks after her workshop to watch.
Fantastic.
Yeah, so it's great. So you can, spread your lectures out and watch them at your leisure. So the website is norwac.net. And if you need to know any more information, you can go to our website. Lynn,
Right. Fantastic, Nicholas. Have a great day.
I will. And
I'm
goodbye,
looking forward to
everybody.
this weekend. Goodbye.